For many, building a custom timber structure right on the water feels like the ultimate real estate victory. But placing exposed wood next to a crashing surf introduces a recurring tax on your time and investment. Most homeowners assume the upkeep for a backyard pergola is the same, whether they live in the Midwest or Oceanside in Malibu. They treat it like any other exterior maintenance project. The ocean atmosphere establishes its own set of rules for structural survival. Saltair aggressively attacks the structural integrity of both timber and steel. Surviving in a marine environment means you can no longer be reactive. The constant exposure to corrosive ocean spray demands a proactive, defensive strategy from day one. To enjoy that coastal location without watching your investment weather away, you must set aside standard maintenance routines and adopt a highly specific, calibrated protocol. It starts with the wind. Ocean breezes pick up microscopic salt particles and moisture, carrying them directly onto the surfaces of residential structures. This comparison table contrasts standard inland degradation against coastal degradation. As the highlighted metric indicates, that constant salt spray strips away wood finishes 2 to 3 times faster than a standard inland environment. Those invisible salt crystals land on the wood, lodge themselves into the pores of the protective seal, and then expand. This physical expansion creates tiny microfractures across the entire surface. The wood is only half the problem. Standard structural steel brackets and bolts react poorly to this high saline environment, beginning to oxidize and rust almost immediately upon exposure. When you combine a fractured, failing wood sealant with heavily corroded joints, you get a compounding structural failure that accelerates week by week. Without specialized intervention, the coastal atmosphere systematically dismantles the structure piece by piece. The required defense strategy is called the proximity protocol. Your maintenance schedule is strictly dictated by exactly how close your structure sits to the water. The active coastal zone, where airborne salt remains dense enough to cause accelerated damage, extends a full 5 miles inland. The threat is present even for homes without a direct beach view. If your property is situated safely past that 5-mile marker, you are exempt from the salt tax. You can confidently revert to standard inland maintenance routines. Determining your exact distance from the shoreline dictates the entire financial and temporal budget for the structure. This distance matrix flowchart maps out specific proximity zones. The extreme tier is oceanfront, defined as property under 500 feet from the water. In this red zone, there are non-negotiables. You must use stainless steel hardware to prevent corrosion, along with marine-grade sealants. You also commit to a demanding labor schedule, completely restaining the structure every year to maintain that protective barrier. Stepping slightly back, we hit the second tier, the near-coast zone, covering properties from 500 feet up to 1 mile from the shoreline. Here, the hardware rules soften slightly. While stainless steel isn't strictly mandatory by building codes, it is strongly recommended to avoid replacing rusted bolts down the road. There is a small reduction in labor requirements here. Near-coast properties only require a full restaining every 1 to 2 years. Within a single mile of the ocean, the coastal environment makes a timber pergola an active, high-maintenance asset. The matrix continues with the third tier, the coastal zone, capturing homes situated 1 to 3 miles inland. Because atmospheric salt concentration drops significantly at this distance, your required restaining window widens to every 1.5 to 2.5 years. That brings us to the final affected tier, the coastal adjacent zone, covering properties 3 to 5 miles from the water. In this outer buffer zone, the threat is minimized, allowing you to stretch the restaining schedule to a manageable 2 to 3 years. The completed protocol acts as a sliding scale. Every mile you move away from the beach trades geographic convenience for a direct reduction in mandatory maintenance effort. What is the single unifying habit required across all of these coastal zones to fight off that rapid degradation? It is surprisingly simple: a 15-minute freshwater rinse, performed once every quarter. The fresh water physically dissolves the accumulated surface salt deposits, washing them away before they have the time to permanently embed themselves into the finish. Homeowners consistently underestimate how much preventative heavy lifting this fast basic rinse actually accomplishes. It demands strict calendar consistency, but spending 15 minutes with a hose 4 times a year saves you the countless hours required for restorative sanding and restaining. This checklist shows the secondary environmental threat to these structures: trapped atmospheric moisture, which is often exacerbated by your surrounding landscaping. To combat this, coastal properties must follow a strict spatial rule, keeping all vegetation trimmed a minimum of 18 inches away from the wood. This is a direct contrast to standard inland environments, where a 12-inch clearance is sufficient. That extra 6 inches of clearance is non-negotiable on the coast. It generates the necessary airflow to dry out the wood and prevents trapped moisture from initiating early rot. To review the complete proximity guide and find your exact zone, use the link provided in the video description below. Western Timberframe specializes in designing and building custom structures engineered to survive the specific proximity zone you live in. Book a free design consultation today and let them help translate your coastal vision into a sustainable reality. You imagine it, we bring it to life.